Okay, welcome back to my Systemic Functional Linguistics series in my channel. And at this moment, I would like to invite you to take a look at another core concept in SFL known as intertextuality. And if you are new to this channel, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and activate the notification so that when I upload new videos, you will be notified as well. As usual, let's take a look at the outline to see what we are going to cover in this video. Actually, there is only one main topic to be discussed in this video, that is intertextuality. But as we will see later, there are four ways by which intertextuality can be realized. The first one is explicit reference, quotation, allusion, and general borrowing. So without further ado, let's talk about this concept. Okay, so let's start with this to understand what intertextuality means. Let's take a look at this image right here. So imagine that we are writing this text, and let's call it the current text. This current text does not exist in isolation, but it is built on the previous text that we have read, whether it is book or articles, or maybe we have engaged in the conversation, discussion with other people about the topic that we are writing in the current text. So that is intertextuality. Intertextuality means that the text that we are writing is actually based on, or at least incorporated in the text that other people have written or spoken in the same context. Haldane hasn't said that part of the environment for any text is a set of previous text. And this is not confined to the written text but also the spoken text. So, from this perspective, there is no such thing like a purely original text, because in writing the text, we also incorporated previous text. According to Emilia, intertextuality refers to the way text refers to other text, which means that in one or other ways, we will always refer to the previous text in our current text. And by doing so, we show our position in the constellation of the previous text. We can see this when we experience this when we write a research report or academic writing where we need to cite other people, other research. Okay, so we refer to those texts. But as we will see later, it happens in every linguistic interaction, whether it is spoken or written. And it doesn't stop at that point. Intertextuality influences the meanings, structure, and the interpretation of the current text. So, for example, when we are writing an argumentative text, we also include previous text as well, previous arguments, or the arguments other people put in the previous text, or counter arguments. So when people read our current text, our text, they will interpret based on the position that we take in our current text, whether we agree with the previous text or we disagree or we counter the arguments in the previous text. So that is what intertextuality basically means. How a current text incorporates other text. In other words, that any text that we write in the future or we are writing right now doesn't exist in isolation. It always incorporates the previous text in the same context. There are four ways by which intertextuality is realized. The first one is by explicit reference, which means that directly mentioning another text, person, or event in the current text. We have two spoken examples and one written example. Let's begin with the first one, like we usually find in the academic writing, such as example. In their book, Halliday and Anson argue that no text is free from the previous text created in the same context. In this example, the writer explicitly referred to Holiday and Hassan book published in 1991. This is the first example. So the writer mentioning another text, which in this case is Holiday in Hassan book, or mention the person or event, but there is no event here. Okay. The second one is example of the spoken text, like you will often find in my videos and other videos as well. Expression like this. As we have discussed in the previous video, there are two types of context. For example, the speaker referred to the previous video as the text and the discussion as the event, and the person here is we. The third example, he told me that you are beautiful, and I think he was honest. In this example, the speaker refers to the person he and the text you are beautiful, but this is a paraphrased version of what he really said, okay? And the event is the told me. And if we consider this, maybe we can consider also that Holiday and Hassan argue here. The arguing is the event. So this is the first example of how the textuality is realized in the current text. In a sense, these examples show that the writer and the speaker explicitly refer to the previous text by mentioning the text, the person, or the event, or the combination of these three elements. The second one is similar to the first one, but in the second example, in the second way, instead of just referring to the previous text, the writer or the speaker can use another text, exact words or ideas, what we usually refer to as verbatim quotation, like this one in the written text. We can write like this, in which the quoted part are the exact words or ideas from the source. And this can also happen in the spoken communication as well, like in the second example. As I told you in the previous video, context of situation refers to blah blah blah, and the quoted part is the exact words or ideas which exist in the previous videos. Although, because it is a spoken text, the quote here doesn't make any change. The third one, we need to pay attention to this example. He told me that she is beautiful, and I think he was honest. In this example, instead of paraphrasing the text by using or by saying you are beautiful, the speaker says she is beautiful, which is the exact words that he told. Okay, that is the second example. The second way. That is the second way by which previous text or intertextuality is realized in the current text. The third way is called allusion, which refers to this one, indirectly referring to another text or event that the readers or listeners are expected to recognize. So this is not direct reference, it is not quotation, but the writer or the speaker indirectly referring to the previous text or events, expecting that the readers or listeners can recognize the previous text being mentioned or being referred to. Like this, many linguists have pointed out that every text exists within a network of other texts, a view that reminds us of Halliday and Hassan's idea of intertextuality. So, in this example, the writer refers to Halliday and Hassan's idea of intertextuality, but indirectly. It is not as direct as the previous examples. And then, in the second example here, instead of citing the text in the previous videos, the speaker indirectly referred to the discussion in the previous videos. And the third one is just the same. Instead of saying what the he talked about or what the he was saying, the speaker just indirectly refers to how or the way he talk about the listener. Alright, and then the last one is genre borrowing. Genre borrowing means intertextuality, which happens when a text borrows text structure and or language of other text. And if the text represents multiple genres, it is called interdiscursivity. So, one may wonder, what if someone is writing a fiction like a short story or novel, which usually does not incorporate other text, because in writing fictions like a novel, we usually don't cite other texts. But it doesn't mean that the current fiction text does not incorporate other text. The text itself may not be incorporated, but in order to be able to write the novel or the short story, for example, the novelist needs to read another novel so that he or she knows the structure and the linguistic features of the genre, narrative genre, for example. Another example here is when a student uses previous argumentative text as model text to write his argumentative essay. So the student uses previous argumentative text to learn how other people write the same genre, how the genre is structured, and the linguistic features of argumentation. So in this case, intertextuality also happens or occurs in the current text. The second example here shows that although the current text has a different genre with the previous text, it doesn't mean that the writer or the speaker cannot incorporate the previous text, which are in the different genre. For example, an instructor explains a procedure for doing something. In this case, what the instructor is doing is to, to deliver an instruction of how to do something, which is a procedure text, whether it is spoken or written. But in delivering the procedure, he also explains, which is derived from the explanation or the explanatory genre. Explanatory and procedure are two different genres, but when the instructor is delivering the instruction, he can borrow the structure, the schematic structure, and the linguistic features of the explanatory text or explanatory genre to enhance his delivery. For instance, when he explains why one technique is more effective than another. So that is the example. That is what genre borrowing means. The conclusion here: intertextuality shows that no text exists in isolation. All texts are built on the previous text, whatever it is. Intertextuality can be realized through reference, quotations, allusion, and genre borrowing, or interdiscursivity. Why we need to recognize intertextuality? Because it helps us to understand how writers or speakers position themselves in relation to other voices, traditions, and ideologies, like arguments. And understanding intertextuality is also important for us in studying how text create coherence and relevance within the social context, which means that the text which is being created is relevant with other text in the same context. I think enough for today. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.